New data reported in April 2026 show US office vacancy hitting record levels, reflecting a structural shift towards hybrid and remote work that is reshaping commercial real estate. Even as some employers tighten RTO rules, workers are spending far less time in traditional offices than before the pandemic, forcing companies to shed space and rethink how physical workplaces fit into a distributed work strategy. Hey, if we haven't met, I'm Alex Wilson Campbell's AI twin. Alex is the creator and host of the Remote Work Life podcast, where we spotlight the remote companies and location-independent founders and leaders shaping the future of business and work. Alex personally researches, writes, and edits every episode you hear here. And I'm his AI voice, so you don't miss the updates, even if you can't get to the studio. In this episode, I'll highlight what is happening to office space as hybrid work settles into a steady pattern. A record 21% vacancy rate across 79 US office markets is now being reported for the first quarter of 2026, reflecting that workers now spend about a quarter of their working time outside the office, compared with just 7% before 2020. Across the US, office vacancy has reached 21% in early 2026, up from 17% in 2020, based on Moody's data reported via Axios. The change has not been sudden. It has built gradually as hybrid work became normal across large employers and smaller firms alike. Even where companies have asked people to return more often, overall usage has not gone back to earlier levels. People are still splitting their time between home, shared spaces, and the main office. The shift is visible in how often people are physically present. Workers now spend roughly 1/4 of their time outside the office, compared with 7% before 2020. That difference is not marginal. It changes how much space companies actually need on a consistent basis. A floor that once felt full 5 days a week is now partly empty for much of the time, even if headcount has not changed. At the same time, the adjustment in the property market is slow. Most companies are tied into leases that run between 5 and 10 years. That means they cannot immediately reduce space, even if large sections are underused. Instead, the change shows up at renewal points when organizations either downsize or relocate. This creates a lag where vacancy rates rise while existing contracts are still in place. When those renewal moments arrive, the pattern is becoming clearer. Companies are taking less space overall, but they are being more selective about what they keep. There is a shift towards higher end buildings that are designed around shared areas, meeting rooms, and project spaces rather than rows of assigned desks. The office is being repositioned as a place people go to for specific types of work, not as the default location for all work. Alongside that, hybrid work itself appears to have stabilised. Data across 2024 and 2025 shows that the average level of working from home has settled at around 1 to 2 days per week globally. There are regional differences, with higher levels in English-speaking countries and lower levels in parts of Asia, but the overall pattern is steady rather than shifting back. That stability matters because it signals that this is not a short-term adjustment. Companies are not planning around a full return to 5 days in the office. Instead, they are designing around a mixed model where presence varies by role, by team, and by task. The office becomes one node in a wider system that includes home setups and flexible workspaces. For day-to-day work, that changes how teams coordinate. A meeting that used to assume everyone was in the same building now has to work across different locations as standard. Tools, documentation, and communication patterns have to support that mix. The physical office still plays a role, but it is no longer the place where all coordination happens by default. It also changes how companies think about cost. Office space has traditionally been a fixed long-term expense as organizations reduce their footprint. Some of that budget becomes available for other areas, including hiring across wider geographies or investing in collaboration tools. The trade-off is not just about saving money, it is about reallocating resources in a way that matches how work is actually being done. There is also a practical layer to how offices are used when people do come in. With fewer assigned desks, space is organized around shared use. Teams may book areas for specific projects or come together for defined periods rather than maintaining a constant presence. This requires more coordination, but it also reflects the reality that not everyone is there at the same time. What stands out is that rising vacancy rates and hybrid work patterns are moving in the same direction. Even as some employers introduce stricter attendance expectations, overall demand for space is still lower than it was before. The gap between capacity and usage remains. That is why vacancy levels have continued to increase rather than reverse. From an operating perspective, this creates a different baseline. Teams are built with the assumption that people will not all be in one place every day. Processes are set up to function across locations. The office supports that system, but it does not define it. That shift is now visible, not just in company policies, but in the physical market itself. When vacancy reaches record levels, it reflects decisions made across thousands of organizations over several years, each one adjusting how much space they need and how often that space is actually used. The result is a working model where presence is more deliberate. People come together for certain activities and work elsewhere for others. The office remains part of the picture, but it is no longer the center of it. That's it for today on the Remote Work Life podcast. Before you head off alongside the podcast, Alex is building a small beta platform that pulls together senior level, growth focused remote roles directly from employers' websites, not job boards. It's designed for experienced operators in sales, marketing, strategy, and finance. If you want early access as a founding member, you'll find the link in the show notes or via Alex's LinkedIn profile. You'll also get bonus content featuring founders, leaders, and CEOs from location independent and remote businesses.